Welcome back, everyone, to a very special and I have to say deeply impactful episode of our podcast. Today, Zoe and RJ, we're diving into something that really hit me hard. The documentary Invisible History, Middle Florida's Hidden Roots. I mean, it's not just history, it's a raw emotional look at a fight for survival, for dignity, for literal ground beneath one's feet.
Ivy, you're so right. Impactful doesn't even begin to cover it. I watched it and I just felt this profound sense of injustice, but also immense admiration for the resilience these families showed. It really lays bare the systemic challenges Black communities faced, especially in the post-Reconstruction South, specifically Middle Florida, in their quest to simply own and keep their land.
Yeah, I think what struck me most, beyond the sheer scale of the historical wrongs, was how this history is invisible. That's in the title, and it's so true. So many of us, even those who consider ourselves pretty aware of American history, might not know the specifics of this fight. It's not just about racial tension, it's about economic warfare, legal manipulation, and outright violence, all aimed at dispossessing people of what was rightfully theirs.
Absolutely, RJ. And let's start there, the land. Post-emancipation, for many Black families, owning land wasn't just about wealth. It was about freedom, self-sufficiency, a place to call home, a legacy for their children. It was the bedrock of their newfound liberty. And to see that systematically attacked almost immediately, it's just heartbreaking.
It truly was. We're talking about a period where 40 acres and a mule was a promise, often broken. So when Black families did manage to acquire land through incredible hard work, saving, and sheer determination, it became a target. The documentary really highlights how sophisticated yet utterly brutal the methods of dispossession were. It wasn't just random acts of racism. It was a concerted strategic effort.
Definitely. And sophisticated is a good word, Zoe, because it wasn't always a mob with torches. Sometimes it was a crooked lawyer, or a manipulated tax sale, or an impossible debt. But just as often, it was the mob. It was the intimidation, the burning of homes, the outright murder, the constant threat of violence hanging over these communities. Imagine waking up every day knowing that simply existing on your own property could put your life and your family's lives in jeopardy.
That's exactly it, RJ. The psychological toll alone must have been immense. The documentary touched on some of these horrific things they went through, like the economic exploitation through sharecropping, where you worked tirelessly only to be told you owed more than you earned. It was a cycle of debt designed to keep people tied to the land, but never truly owning it, or if they did, never truly profiting from it.
And the legal system, which should have been a safeguard, often became another weapon. They used vague property descriptions, exploit illiteracy to get people to sign away their rights, or simply deny Black landowners access to justice. The courts, local sheriffs, even state officials were often complicit in these schemes. It wasn't just individuals, it was the entire infrastructure of power working against them.
Yeah, the tax sales were a huge one, right? Families would pay their taxes, often scrupulously, but then suddenly find out their land had been sold for unpaid taxes that were either fictitious or had been deliberately mishandled. And by the time they found out, the legal avenues for recourse were either too expensive, too complex, or simply non-existent for them.
It's infuriating to think about how systematically this was done, and the sheer audacity of it all. You know, these were often highly productive lands, fertile ground, and the documentary implies that part of the motivation was pure greed, wanting that land for white expansion, for timber, for agriculture, without having to pay a fair price or any price at all.
It's a stark reminder that racial tension wasn't just about social segregation. It was deeply economic. Maintaining a racial hierarchy was profitable. Keeping Black people from accumulating generational wealth through land ownership ensured a cheap labor force and maintained white economic dominance. It's a painful truth often glossed over.
And it wasn't just about land, it was about destroying community. When you break up families, when you force people off their generational property, you're not just taking away an asset, You're dismantling cultural hubs, places where families had built lives, traditions, and support systems for decades. It's a form of cultural erasure, really.
That's a powerful point, RJ. And yet, through all of this, what struck me was the sheer tenacity, the resistance. These communities didn't just passively accept their fate. The documentary shows snippets of this fight. People going to court, organizing, advocating, even when the odds were stacked impossibly high against them. That kind of perseverance in the face of such overwhelming opposition is truly inspiring.
The stories of those who did manage to hold on to their land, sometimes against all odds, are testaments to human spirit. And it wasn't just individual acts of defiance, it was often collective memory, passing down stories, documenting what they could, and leaning on each other. That community aspect was crucial for survival and resistance.
It really highlights the importance of oral history, too, because when official records are either non-existent, deliberately destroyed, or fabricated, how else do you preserve your truth? These elders, these families, sharing their stories, even the painful ones, that's what keeps the invisible history from disappearing entirely. It's a way of saying, we were here, this happened, and we remember.
And that brings us back to the hidden roots part. Why is this not common knowledge? Why isn't this taught in every history class? Is it too uncomfortable to confront the systematic nature of these injustices because it challenges a narrative of progress that some prefer to believe?
Precisely. Acknowledging this history means acknowledging that the prosperity of some was built on the dispossession and suffering of others. It means confronting the reality that many current inequities, particularly in wealth distribution, have deep historical roots tied to these exact land thefts and economic suppressions.
It's not just historical curiosity, it's foundational to understanding today. When we talk about the racial wealth gap, for instance, how much of that is directly attributable to generations of families being denied the ability to accumulate wealth through land ownership, which for so long was the primary way to build intergenerational wealth in this country.
It's an uncomfortable truth, but one we absolutely need to reckon with. And the documentary doesn't just stop at showing the past. It shows the lingering effects, the ongoing fight for descendants to reclaim what was lost, or at least to get recognition in some form of justice.
The legal battles continue, even today, and the challenges remain formidable. How do you prove ownership or claim after a century of deliberate obfuscation and record manipulation? It's a bureaucratic nightmare layered on top of historical trauma.
I think that's why watching this documentary is so crucial. It's not just about learning facts, it's about understanding the human cost of racial tension and systemic injustice. It's about feeling the weight of that history and recognizing its echoes in our present. It humanizes the statistics we often hear.
Exactly. It puts faces and names to the suffering and the resistance, and it makes you wonder how many other invisible histories are out there, waiting to be uncovered, waiting for us to finally pay attention. This film is a powerful step in making one of those histories visible.
It serves as a vital reminder that history isn't just about dates and major events. It's about the everyday struggles of ordinary people and how those struggles shape the very fabric of our society. And for many Black families, the struggle for land was the defining struggle of generations.
So, if you haven't seen Invisible History, Middle Florida's Hidden Roots, please go seek it out. It's not an easy watch, but it's an essential one. It changes the way you look at American history, and frankly, it changes the way you look at the present.
I couldn't agree more, RJ. It's a film that stays with you, prompts reflection, and hopefully inspires further learning and action. Thank you both for this incredibly important conversation today. And thank you to all of you listening for joining us as we shed light on this crucial piece of our shared past. We'll catch you next time.